everyone. How are you today? My name is Katie Nocerino, and welcome to our very first episode of Selling with Intent. We are super excited for this series. Selling is not easy. It never has been, and especially in today's environment, it's more challenging than ever. So as a part of this talk show, we are hoping to have conversations with different sales leaders so we can all make just more connections and learn from each other and hopefully weather this all together. So with that said, we'll be kicking off the show with Don Mulroy, CRO of a company called Coreview. Welcome, Don.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Katie.
Yeah, thanks for joining. How's it going? How you doing today?
We're doing well, thanks.
Well, just before we dive into it, if you guys have any questions for Don as we go throughout the show, just pop them into the chat and we'll leave some room at them to answer them at the end. So with that said, Don, tell us a little bit about Coreview.
Coreview, great company, SaaS management platform for Office 365. So we're helping people manage and secure and be as efficient as they can be with their Office 365 deployments.
Love it. And where are you calling in from?
I'm in New Jersey today.
Okay.
Very cloudy and rainy New Jersey.
All right. I'm LA, so we've got coast to coast covered. Love it. Well, it is certainly an interesting time. I mean, first we had COVID and then all the recent chaos that's happening, just came about recently. So with all of that said, some companies are thriving right now. Others are, not so much. It sounds like your guys' product is very, very relevant, more so.
Yes, absolutely. There's a component of our product line around learning and adoption for Microsoft Office 365 workloads, including Teams. So with this onset of remote work, a lot of people working from home, that Teams icon on their computer has gone from more than just an icon to something they're spending their whole day in. So we've actually had quite a bit of business in helping people with rapid Teams deployments get the learning and adoption they need to better use Teams. So it might be something as simple as, how do I add a third caller onto my Teams call? By simply clicking help, a little 30-second video comes out and shows you your next 5 or 6 clicks, and you're kind of off to the races and going. And we have more than 2,100 videos across the Office 365 workloads that help folks become more productive using those products.
Okay. Would you say you guys were ready for this type of influx of business?
So it was certainly a bit of a pivot on our side. So, it wasn't our number one pitch, but it very quickly became our number one pitch. We also, so we pivoted, did a promotion on offering some free learning because we wanted to do our part in helping folks out in these tough times. And I have to admit, I was somewhat surprised at how quickly it made a difference, including in state government, which, as you know, could be an awfully slow venture in our business due to executive orders. We had states moving very quickly on some of these projects.
Wow. I can imagine. Sales, customer success, support, all of it is just, everyone's probably going a little crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, and you're forced to kind of, drink your own Kool-Aid a little bit, right? So I'm on Teams camera all day, every day, dress shirt on top, shorts on the bottom, like everybody else at home. So. Yeah,
exactly. Kool-Aid, champagne, you got to drink your own, whatever your beverage.
Absolutely.
And with the, I love the Zoom outfit, the Zoom attire, always PJ pants on the bottom, of course.
Yeah, I catch a glimpse of myself walking past the mirror and I realize, how silly I look, but part of me that's on camera, very professional.
Exactly. That's all that really matters. Well, I love it. I mean, in terms of just how quickly you guys had to pivot from a sales enablement standpoint, I mean, given you look after the whole org, what'd you guys do? I mean, it's tough in a remote world. How'd you manage to get everyone on board and get them all enabled and pivot together?
Yeah, no, agreed. So listen, luckily we're small enough that it's, it's not like steering a cruise ship. We're a little bit more like a sports car, but we had always used Teams very prevalently anyway, but maybe not everybody was on the camera all the time. We did kind of institute, kind of mandatory on the camera. I do a weekly worldwide call on Fridays. And we kind of have the the topic of the week, somebody might get up and speak about some things, but we started using that exclusively for enablement, and then doing, additional enablement sessions. We're small enough that the field can kind of collaborate and say, this is what I'm pitching and this is what I'm working, and conversely, this is what I'm pitching and it didn't land. And I would say very quickly, within probably under 2 weeks, we had been running webinars, running marketing promotions, aligned our digital marketing, and our sales guys were on the phones pitching, the new pivoted message.
Wow. So it sounds like, that was another question I had for you. Just a constant thing that we hear about is the struggle to align marketing with sales. Sounds like you just started to touch on that, but would love to have you share a bit more about how you work alongside marketing to make sure that your message is coordinated.
Yeah, absolutely. So Taylor DeChico's our head of worldwide marketing. I don't think I talk to anybody at the company nearly as much as I talk to Taylor. It's many times a day, every day. And really, it's a bit of a three-legged stool. So, we don't have sales ops. We call it revenue ops, right? So that is an organization that supports both sales and marketing. And we are truly in lockstep on everything. So, I have some say in digital marketing, and Taylor has some say in the way the sales goes to market. We run an outsourced BDR organization that, essentially Taylor and I tag team the way we run that. So, I run the metrics of how many calls and emails we want and where we're targeting it. And Taylor helps enable them and align them to our marketing messages. So it seems to work.
Very cool. That's one of the first times I've heard about that in our previous conversations, having an outsourced BDR function. Can you dig into that a little bit?
Yeah. So I just had my 1-year anniversary here at Coreview last week. So when I came in, I inherited an organization that was spread out. So there were some folks in Dublin, Ireland. There were some folks down in Alpharetta, Georgia. There was a manager at a third location. And I'll just say it wasn't working. I think the two most important ingredients you need for a good BDR or SDR organization is enablement and oversight. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, our folks were getting neither of those two things. So we very quickly interviewed a bunch of firms. We decided to go with a company called Reveneer in Lexington, Massachusetts. They really sold us on how thorough and quickly they could enable folks. We have a bit of a special contract where if at some point we want to bring these folks in-house, we can contractually, bring them on. So you don't feel like the investment you're making in that team is throwaway work, right? It's something that you get to keep. And true to their word, we participated very closely in the enablement. We created a playbook and call scripts. We sat in their offices in Lexington, Mass, and we did role plays, and they were within a week on the telephones, effective within 2 weeks. Wow. And then because life isn't fair, obviously COVID-19 threw us another wrinkle here recently where instead of all those SDRs working from the same table in very close proximity to one another, they're all now working remotely. And, I'm very happy to say we experienced little, if any, fall off. So them being able to get folks who are working remotely and them having the discipline to stay on task and meet the metrics they SLA'd with us, they've been able to do that. So it's been really a bright spot around here.
Wow, that's amazing. So with I love the two cornerstones, the enablement and oversight. I'd imagine that with a remote and outsourced BDR function, that can prove to be rather difficult, or some might think. But it sounds like you guys have managed to rein it in and keep that. Yeah,
we have. So they use our tech stack. Including Salesforce. So I have dashboards. I can see in practically real time where we are against our metrics on any given week. We do a weekly Friday huddle with them where every rep gets on and talks about phone calls they made, meetings they booked, and they can ask questions on that. It's usually about an hour long. So I think going into it, I felt like we get out of it what we put into it. I'd say our organization from our CEO down has invested a lot of time in it, and it appears to be paying off.
Yeah, that's amazing. Very cool. It sounds like it started out as almost like, oh God, I got to get this under control quickly, but it's worked out fantastically. So awesome.
Yes, no, absolutely. It's I would highly recommend it to somebody struggling with how to. Sometimes the hardest part is how do I start with this?
Yeah.
And you get up very quickly and you learn your lessons very quickly as well.
Awesome. Well, in terms of the enablement piece of it, would love to get a bit of insight into what you guys are running from a tech stack perspective.
Sure.
You maybe get in front of your reps.
Sure. So again, we are in scale up mode. We're looking for very aggressive growth. I think a very good tech stack is a great way to amplify the efforts of your reps, both our outside reps and the inside, SDR organization. So I inherited an immature Marketo and Salesforce. We very quickly added Ringlead, to do data normalization because we're constantly trying to push as much good information as we can. We use Drift. We use Discovery and Zoom Info. We recently added Seamless. So that's sourcing contacts, trying to find the people we want to market to within our organizations. SalesLoft. We're very, very big SalesLoft users. So we use the dialer. All of our email campaigns go through that as well. Of course, 6 Sense. So it's the new most addictive part of our sales stack is 6 Sense. So we love it, right? So our outside sales reps are targeting accounts with 10,000 mailboxes and above that own Office 365. That is a very large addressable market, and it could be a little intimidating when you're looking at how do I get after the prospects in my territory. And 6 Sense does such a great job of letting us know who wants to be found, right? So who's out there that is interested in SaaS management for Office 365, who's struggling with things like RBAC control, who's looking for ways to get better at charging back their Microsoft Office 365 functions. So with 6 Sense, we're able to know who's looking to be found. We're able to market to them digitally and directly. And a funny but true story, our CEO took a little bit of selling to be able to make the purchase. He's the number one user. I mean, he's in it literally every single day. I don't think anybody's created more segments in 6 Sense.
That's amazing. It is addicting. It really is, to figure out who's researching your competition. I've been in sales for 10 years, and that now to have that data, I'm just oh my God, it's exciting.
Katie, I grew up in this business as an inside rep, and if I had a 6 Sense back in the day.
Well, I'm happy to hear you say that. I promise, guys, I did not slip on a 20 to say all that. No, but I really do appreciate that. And it sounds like you guys have invested a lot in your tech stack. And the cool thing is that it also seems like it's a combination of tools that work really well together. So you've got your 6 Sense
very good point.
Prioritized, but SalesLoft, Drift, and you've got the engagement happening across all the different channels. So again, aligned with marketing in a really
so that's a very good point. We're a relatively small company. We don't have a huge revenue operations department. We were able to in-house all those products that I mentioned, all talk to one another. They all work in concert, and we were able to get up relatively quickly and relatively inexpensively.
Yeah.
And we're constantly quantifying how well we're doing with the tools to make the adjustments needed to the metrics we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to dive into that, but I know we're running out of time. So that might have to be a follow-up. The measurement piece could take
episode 2. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Awesome. And I love the concept of having a revenue team. That's one that we at 6 Sense absolutely believe in. There should be no barrier between sales ops and marketing ops. So combining and having it roll up to a CRO is awesome.
I thought I coined the phrase, but I have been reading more and more about other companies that talk about revenue ops and not sales.
We can still
say it used to be just the guy that made your Salesforce reports, but really there's a lot more to it now. And I mean, Jesse Richard, who runs that for us, talk about the tech stack. He's involved in that, right? Very much. So in fact, to a great degree, he owns that tech stack because, again, it's only as valuable as its integrations to the rest of our products.
No, absolutely. All right, looking at the clock, I do have to pause because this might be one of my favorite parts of the segment, which is BDR Horror Stories.
I started as a BDR, like a lot of us. So I went BDR inside sales rep, outside sales rep, and worked my way up to being a chief revenue officer. So in my early days, so by the way, not only did we not have 6th Sense, we used to basically just get a database from Dun and Bradstreet that was full of horrible names that the people that no longer worked at the company. So as you were cold calling, you had to actually kind of fill in the database and create these org charts, so at least the database would be more valuable when you were done with it. But I did get a bad number one time for an executive at Goldman Sachs, and I accidentally called her at her beach house in the Hamptons, and I'll spare the names of the innocent here, but I took a bit of a beating from her over the telephone and a bit of follow-up. My boss had to call me in the office and give me a talking to about not overstepping my boundaries and calling people at their vacation homes and personal addresses. So I learned very quickly to try to validate the exchange I'm calling and make sure it was an office number and not somebody's house.
We've all been there, but I feel like he was also a little bit proud of you.
I like aggressive mistakes from my people too, right? So, you don't want to be obnoxious about it. I call it professional persistence, right? We don't want to be obnoxious, but we want to be professionally persistent.
Exactly. Well, it does not seem like that held you back. I'd love to wrap up with just a bit more about you. How'd you get to where you are? Tell us a bit about your journey to being CRO.
Yeah, sure. So, and I think my story, keeps with the theme here. I started as a BDR, making 500 phone calls a day, or whatever the number was. I'm sure it's, I make the number higher every year, the further I get removed from it. But, right, I enjoyed enough success doing that somebody gave me an opportunity to be, an inside sales rep. So I very quickly moved, I think by 25, I was an outside sales rep covering a Northeast territory. Cognos was where I really cut my teeth. I think everybody has that one job in their career where they learn the most. I worked for a great guy named Curtis Geckel, and I learned talk a little less and get better at asking questions and learning and being intuitive. So, I think I really became a good sales rep there. And then I think you hit that point at the part of your career where you're like, I think I could take everything I learned and I think I could do a really good job helping a team scale by, teaching them the lessons I learned over a long career. So, 24 years later, I become a chief revenue officer and I very much enjoy the team building of it. I like to, I have so many good, younger, smart, aggressive folks who remind me a lot of myself in my younger parts of my career. So, I try to never lose touch with the guy that was on the phone all day, because I think that is a component, whether you're a CRO or a very senior outside sales rep, being able to pick up a phone and succinctly and quickly to deliver your value proposition that never goes away in this business.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think when you're on an airplane, you have to be prepared to sell what you're selling to the person sitting next to you too.
I have too many of those stories to tell too. I'm
exactly.
a bit of a chatty Cathy on the plane. So if somebody looks like they're interested, I'll tell them our story.
Perfect. I'm the same way. I don't think you could find a plane flight long enough. So, well,
Nope,
Don,
absolutely.
Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you taking the time, sharing a bit about Coreview, about your role and how you got to where you are. I think awesome takeaways. I mean, enablement, oversight, the BDR function being outsourced. There's a lot of unique stuff that you guys are doing. So continue to crush it. We're really excited to be partnered with you and can't wait to watch all of
No,
you.
so are we. I mean, listen, I don't want to do the shameless plug for 6th Sense, but we do account-based sales and marketing. And if you're doing it without intent data, you're probably just doing it wrong.
Yeah. Well, you said it best. Do you want to work for 6th Sense? No, I'm just kidding. All right, Don, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day and stay safe.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.